Picture this. Your serene private oasis is invaded by strangers, a rogue HOA declares it public, and then you remember. You're the state water commissioner. I never thought my life would turn into a real-life drama straight out of a movie until one sweltering July afternoon when everything changed. I'd spent the entire spring meticulously planning my summer retreat, dreaming of lazy afternoons by my private pool. Little did I know that the very oasis I cherished was about to become the epicenter of a neighborhood rebellion. It was an unusually hot day, and I had been eagerly anticipating a quiet weekend at home. After a long week at work as the state water commissioner, a job I take immense pride in, I looked forward to unwinding with a cold drink on my back patio, savoring the peace of my little sanctuary. My neighborhood was known for its quiet charm and the friendly smile of our local HOA board. I even admired their newsletters until one fateful day changed everything. When I stepped through my front door, I was instantly hit by a mix of chaos and disbelief. My private pool, once a calm, inviting retreat, was now a scene of unbridled pandemonium. Over 100 strangers, seemingly out of nowhere, were splashing around, laughing and enjoying an impromptu party. The water, usually clear and refreshing, was now a murky shade, and I could see beer cans bobbing along the surface like lost souvenirs from a wild carnival. Everywhere I looked, there were signs of complete disregard for the rules I'd grown accustomed to. Greasy fingerprints decorated the glass of my patio doors, and my favorite lounge chair had been dragged halfway into the pool. It was as if my backyard had been hijacked by a rogue party crew. At first, I stood frozen in disbelief, wondering if I was dreaming. But then I heard a familiar, infuriating voice. Standing at the edge of my pool was Evelyn, the ever-smug president of our HOA. With a megaphone in hand, she cheerfully announced to the crowd, "Welcome to your new community pool." Her tone was so casual, so nonchalant, that it sent shivers down my spine. I approached Evelyn, my mind racing. "What in the world is going on here?" I demanded, struggling to keep my voice steady. Evelyn, with a practiced smile, explained that according to an archaic bylaw from 1986, my pool had been reclassified as a community amenity. Apparently, the board had decided, without my explicit consent, that my private oasis was now open for public use. My heart pounded as I absorbed the absurdity of the situation. I had read every word of that HOA contract when I bought the house, yet I never imagined that a clause buried in the fine print could allow for something this outrageous. Evelyn nonchalantly mentioned that a letter had been sent out in the monthly newsletter. A letter? I hadn't received anything, not one single notice. I took a deep breath. While my initial reaction burned with anger, I knew that reckless confrontation would only play into Evelyn's hands. Instead, I decided to rely on the one asset I had that Evelyn clearly underestimated, my expertise as the state water commissioner. I walked over to my patio control panel with determination. I wasn't just a frustrated homeowner, I was a guardian of water safety and integrity. With a few deliberate presses on the panel, I shut down the pool's filtration system. In seconds, the crystal-clear water turned a murky, almost toxic green. Murmurs of discomfort began to ripple through the partygoers. One by one, people started to exit the pool, wrinkling their noses and exchanging worried glances. Evelyn's confident smile faltered as she watched her perfectly orchestrated party unravel. Seizing the moment, I raised my voice just enough for everyone to hear. I should have read the fine print, didn't I? The room fell silent for a beat as realization dawned on the crowd. For the record, I continued, "I'm the state water commissioner." The reaction was electric. Shock, confusion, and even a hint of fear spread among the partygoers. Evelyn tried to laugh it off, but her eyes betrayed her mounting anxiety. I calmly explained that by converting my pool into a public amenity without proper state approval, she had not only compromised the quality of our water, but had also exposed everyone to potential health hazards. I informed the gathering that I had already filed official complaints with the Department of Public Health, the State Environmental Agency, and even the tax office for misallocated funds. The next morning, the tension in the neighborhood was palpable. An emergency HOA meeting was scheduled in the cramped, over-decorated community clubhouse, a place that had seen better days. I arrived early, determined to set the record straight. The room was filled with anxious homeowners, and all eyes were fixed on Evelyn, who sat at the front with a veneer of forced calm. Evelyn launched into her usual spiel about neighborhood harmony and community bonding, trying desperately to downplay the chaos that had ensued. I waited until she reached the peak of her performance before standing up. With a measured tone, I revealed the documentation I had prepared. Starting today, I announced my pool is declared a hazardous site, closed to public use. Furthermore, because it's now classified as a public amenity, the HOA is responsible for all maintenance, repairs, and any potential liabilities. The reaction was instantaneous. A murmur of shock and outrage spread through the room. One homeowner whispered, "What does this mean for our HOA fees?" Another demanded, "How could they allow this to happen?" Evelyn's composure began to crack, her face draining of color as the reality of her mismanagement hit her. I detailed how the unauthorized party, the murky water, and the entire debacle were just the tip of the iceberg. I reminded everyone that the HOA's decision had not only jeopardized our health and safety, but also violated numerous state regulations. I mentioned that state health inspectors were already on their way to investigate the HOA's practices, and that a full audit of the association's financial records was imminent. As I spoke, I could see the shift in the room. Homeowners who had once blindly supported Evelyn began to exchange skeptical glances. The veneer of community trust was rapidly crumbling. Evelyn tried to regain control, insisting that everything was just a misunderstanding, but her words fell flat. The power dynamics had completely reversed. Within days, the fallout was widespread. The county assessor's office began re-examining the reclassification of my pool, and the health department's inspection uncovered multiple violations in the HOA-managed common areas, from unsafe playground equipment to neglected walkways. It turned out that the misappropriated funds and unauthorized fees were part of a larger pattern of financial misconduct that had plagued the board for years. The once powerful HOA board found itself in turmoil. Homeowners demanded transparency, accountability, and, most importantly, a change in leadership. An emergency vote was held just 2 weeks later, and in a landslide decision, the HOA was dissolved. For the first time in decades, residents were free from the suffocating grip of an organization that had betrayed their trust. I remember the day the decision was finalized. I was back by my pool, this time with the water restored to its original, inviting clarity. I sipped a cold drink and looked around at my now peaceful backyard, a space reclaimed from bureaucratic overreach and mismanagement. There was a sense of satisfaction in knowing that standing up for what was right had led to real change. That summer taught me invaluable lessons about power, responsibility, and the importance of standing up for oneself. I learned that knowledge is indeed power, especially when wielded with integrity and purpose. I also discovered that true community accountability doesn't come from blind obedience to authority, but from a collective willingness to question, challenge, and demand better. Every time I glance at my pool now, I'm reminded of that tumultuous day. It's a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected battles can lead to the most rewarding victories. And for those of you listening, remember, never underestimate the power you hold, even when it seems like all the odds are stacked against you. As I wrap up my story, I want you to take away this simple truth. Whether you're dealing with a domineering HOA or any other force that tries to dictate your life, never forget your rights. Educate yourself, stay informed, and don't be afraid to use every tool at your disposal to protect what matters most to you. Thank you for joining me on this wild ride of personal triumph and community awakening. And remember, sometimes the best form of revenge isn't loud or explosive. It's a quiet, resolute stand for justice that changes everything.